Welcome once again to Humans TV Africa. You are most welcome to Humans TV Africa. This is your host, Kato Mukasa, and of course, I'm a Ugandan lawyer by training, interested in issues, human rights, and I'm here to talk about human rights today. But in the studio is my brother, Dennis Bongole, who is producing the show, and of course, the entire team at Humans TV Africa. We are a TV station that is having physical studios in Uganda, Kenya, Zambia, Zimbabwe, Nigeria, Ghana, Sierra Leone. We have physical studios of this TV, but also we have virtual TV where you can get us everywhere you are. We are having physical studios in the UK, but also we have physical studios in the USA. Now, today, this is Kato Mukasa. Of course, I want to encourage you to subscribe to our YouTube channel. But before that, please also you can write to us at info@humanstvafrica.com. Our email is info@humanstvafrica.com. Our WhatsApp is +254 74 73 56 767. You may want to join any program. We have a number of programs across the world. We have directors of the TV in Ghana, in Sierra Leone, in Nigeria, in Kenya, in Zambia, in Zimbabwe. They are directors of this TV, and of course in Uganda. Now, you may want to join us as a panelist. You may want to join us as a guest. You may want to join us as a journalist. You may want to join us as a lawyer, as a researcher, as a student who want to do internship in media. This is our platform. Please write to us at info@humanstvafrica.com, and the WhatsApp number is right there. But also, please remember to subscribe. Dennis is going to put there the subscription handle. Subscribe to us by looking for Humans TV Africa. When you go to YouTube, you're going to find us there. Today is the maiden show on Uganda. I am a Ugandan lawyer interested in issues, human rights. Kato Mukasa is my name, and we're going to be talking about human rights towards Uganda. This is episode 1. Each week, I'll be coming with another episode to talk about human rights issues in Uganda. I've been in Uganda much of my life. Most of my life, I've been in Uganda. I was born in Uganda, and I went to schools in Uganda, and I qualified as a lawyer and an advocate in Uganda. Therefore, I know Uganda very well. And of course, I disagree with the dictatorship going on in Uganda. I disagree with the human rights violations going on in Uganda. Uganda ranks highly among the poorly governed countries in the world. Uganda is under a dictatorship of Yoweri Kaguta Museveni and his mafia government that is running the show in Uganda. Uganda is badly governed, according to the Human Rights Index of this year. The Uganda police is the most corrupt institution in Uganda, but also the most upper hand institution in terms of human rights violation. You can imagine, I repeat it for you, the Uganda police is the most corrupt, but also the most Number one institution that violates rights of people. You can imagine a people given a mandate to keep people and their properties, law and order, but the institution is corrupt, but also violates human rights. That is the Uganda police. In Uganda, of course, we have commissions like the Human Rights Commission, which basically does nothing. I'll put it for you. In Uganda, we have the Human Rights Commission, which basically does nothing. I'm a lawyer. I've been practicing human rights law in Uganda, and I'm telling you from the source that the Uganda Human Rights Commission practically does nothing because it's a cadre movement. It's a commission filled by regime apologists, filled by regime cadres, people that work for the ruling party are the people managing the Human Rights Commission. Now, what do you expect if a people who are loyal to the president are managing a commission of human rights in a country? What do you expect? That is Uganda for you. Of course, the other institution which is very corrupt is the Parliament of Uganda. We have a dead parliament. I've been always telling you that the Parliament of Uganda is one of the most dead institutions in Uganda. It is highly corrupt. And those people there, honestly, I can say that 95% of the people in Parliament don't deserve the title of honorable. There's nothing honorable about them apart from being dishonorable. Many of them rigged their elections. Many of them rigged their way into power, but also maintain power by corrupting and sometimes by killing their opponents. I've been talking about issues of human rights in Uganda. I've been appearing on different television, of course, NTV, Sanyuka and others, Kingdom TV and many other TVs. I've been in Uganda talking about these issues. I'm talking to you right now. Human rights violations in Uganda are quite many, and of course, journalists are not free to talk. In Uganda, you have a ability to talk. You can talk and talk and talk. But of course, after talking, you have no freedom. You are going to be hunted down. You're going to be intimidated. Of course, Uganda is a country that which hunts get people as a scapegoat. They get people which hunted. They have been criminalized. They have been imprisoned. They have been forced to strip. They have been forced to do annual examination. Uganda is a shame, especially because they use gay people as a punching bag, as a scapegoat. So Uganda is a country where people can steal public funds and go scot-free. But of course, if someone is suspected to be gay, is going to be imprisoned for life. So transgender people in Uganda have no space, like my friend there, who is in exile in Kenya. And of course, human rights situation in Uganda deteriorates every day, as you can see. Uganda's number one dictator, who has been at the helm of power since 1986, when Museveni, of course, issued or signed into law the act against LGBTIQ people in Uganda. And of course, as we speak today, hundreds of Ugandans are into exile because, of course, they cannot find peace in their country. There are many NGOs that have been closed in Uganda simply because they have been working with, of course, gay people, or they have been training them, or they have been sympathetic to them. So Uganda is upside down. The regime, which I call the military junta in Uganda, is known for stealing elections. Every after 5 years, we go for a ceremony called voting, and we know the winner because the winner is a president who refused to honor democracy. Elections are sham. Elections are rigged in Uganda. You go to vote when you know the result. Remember that the result is going to be fair, but because you know that the Electoral Commission is biased, that the candidates like Bobi Wine cannot win an election in Uganda. Bobi Wine, I can say here, authoritatively that he won. Bobi Wine won the 2021 presidential election. He won it. You can agree with me that Bobi Wine really won that election. But what happened after the election? There was, of course, arbitrary arrests and all that. And of course, we all know what happened, that over 100 plus NUP supporters were imprisoned. The parliament, one of the most useless institutions in Uganda, that sits on their tails and think using their legs. Uganda's parliamentarians sit on their tails, but also think using their legs. They never use their brain to think. In many of the policies they do, in many of the laws they act. Veterans like Bilambi Sali, who have been advising the country, are retiring. And of course, we cannot get their wisdom now because they have been sidelined. There are many people who have been kept, made to keep quiet. They cannot speak what must be done because, of course, they fear for their lives, they fear for their businesses. People who would have spoken to steer the country forward, of course, are retiring, are resigning. We have seen massive killings, shoot to kill, the recent survival of Bujingo Aloysius, the pastor of a house of prayer who was attacked just a few days ago and simply survived. Now, Uganda is becoming increasingly lawless. Uganda is increasingly becoming unsecure. There are so many guns in the hands of wrong people. Pastors who are, of course, supporting the regime are not spared either. You can see people have been criticizing the government, have been shot dead, including SP Kirumira, who was shot just a few years ago, a police officer who was speaking truth to power, a police officer who exposed corruption in Uganda was shot. Of course, we remember General Katumba Wamala was also being shot at, survived, but the daughter, of course, passed. Remember Abiriga, who was trying to be a praise singer, but somehow pressed the wrong button. Abiriga was shot in that yellow car there. And of course, we remember Isma Olaxis, who was also killed just a few months ago. We remember people like Felix Kawesa, my homemate, the IGP, Assistant IGP of Uganda, was also killed in cold blood murder. And of course, we remember Bobby Wine was shot at and his brother was killed, and so many other managed shootings where public officers, where people were publicly outspoken, people criticizing the government, people who try to speak to the contrary of what the ruling regime wants to hear are getting gunned down. Apart from the photos you see there are many people in prison. There are many people being attacked in their homes. There are many people who have been disappeared. As we talk right now, there are hundreds of political prisoners in unknown locations. In Uganda, they call them safe houses. My friend, the late Linda Tilly, used to talk about a genocide in Uganda. And I agree with Linda. She used to say, I stand with Uganda, free Uganda. There is a genocide. It's true. There has been a genocide in Uganda for some years. That genocide began in northern Uganda. In 1988, the genocide began in northern Uganda, where many people in the north were killed by the young regime there. Many people in the north, many Acholis, many Langese were killed by the young NRM regime there. Then we saw what happened in Mukula when so many Itosots were again killed, including burning them alive in the so-called Mukula wagons. We have seen all these massacres, all these terrible things happening. Remember the Kasese incident where hundreds of people were shot dead in Kasese, and a traditional leader, a traditional king, was also arrested and has been in prison for about 3 years. So all these things remind us that Uganda is bleeding, that Uganda is under a military dictatorship. Look at that. That's what happened in northern Uganda, and of course that's what happened in Karamoja, where Karamoja is blessed with natural resources, including gold and other natural resources. And what the regime has done is to take their investors and their own people to go and chase Kalamajons off their land and then force them into starvation, force them into death, and then take over their land so that they can get their minerals without their consent. You can see those images there of a people forced out of their homes and deliberately starved to death. So that's a genocide. There have been a silent genocide going on in Uganda, and Linda Tilly rightly said so. Stop Ugandan genocide. There was a genocide and has been ongoing for quite a number of years. A genocide going on in Uganda against certain regions. I've just mentioned the Kasese, which was terrorized. I've just mentioned Karamojong people who have been terrorized. I've just mentioned the Acholis and the Langis in the 80s who were also victims of the ruling regime in Uganda. Now, this is terrible. These are issues that border with human rights. In my book, Stolen Legitimacy, which came out last year, which came out in 2022, in May, the book came out in 2022 in May, has been one of those books that has been exposing what is happening in motherland. The stolen legitimacy, stealing over votes, ballot stuffing, bad electioneering, biased electoral commission, and everything being done to ensure that Yoweri Museveni wins in courts elections, becomes the illegitimate leader of the country for the last 36 years. Now, this is the problem with Uganda, where human rights are being violated each day. People are getting disappeared. People are shot on the streets. People are being starved deliberately in Karamoja in Uganda, and their minerals are being taken. People are deliberately driven off their land in Karamoja region. You can Google it. And their lands, because their lands have gold and other resources, their lands are being taken over by the so-called investors. Now, whoever speaks about these things becomes public enemy number one. And public enemy, of course, becomes an enemy of the ruling junta in Uganda. People like Bobi Wine have been silenced. They cannot speak freely. In their country, they have been in and out of prisons. It becomes very hard to be a politician in Uganda, especially a genuine politician. I should say that many politicians in Uganda are not genuine. They are in opposition, but they are serving the regime. But those who are genuine definitely face the wrath of the ruling junta in the country. You can see people like this guy, Eric, have been tortured. This guy was tortured with a flat iron. Those are wounds inflicted on this man's body, Eric Mwesugwa, by a flat iron. He was taken in a safe house. That is Bobi Wine, the leader of the opposition today, Sentam Chagulani, who was showcasing this guy after his rescue from an unknown safe house. How can a house be safe when people are getting tortured, burnt alive? That's an image to show you that Uganda has become increasingly dictatorial. There is no respect for human rights. A person is got from his home, handcuffed, blindfolded, and taken to an unknown place and then tortured. He was likely to be released to tell the story. Many people like him don't make it out alive. There have been so many cases of disappeared people in their hundreds so far in unknown places. We fear that most of these people are dead. These are human rights activists. These are political activists. For example, these two members of parliament, Sewanya Navea and Segirinya, were incarcerated over fabricated charges. As a lawyer, I can authoritatively tell you that there was no substance in the cases against Sewanyana and Segirinya. There was no substance. There was no locus. It was a fraudulent charge. But these guys were put in prison for almost 2 years. For almost 2 years, were put in prison wrongly. These are members of parliament. put in prison for almost 2 years on fabricated charges that they went into my district and massacred and killed people. It was false. I come from that district. They never went there. They never got involved in anything. Apart from being not even around in the country, everything was a lie. Now, this is how the government of Uganda works. Fabrications, false allegations, false claims, false confessions, and everything becomes wrong. Look at the poverty in Karamoja region. They are getting people's minerals and they are making them drink such bad water. A man as old as that guy there, maybe about 70 years old, cannot even find clean water. They are made to work to get these minerals out of these quarries, but are not even paid. That is the country that is Uganda today. The state of human rights is appalling. Every report each year that comes out continues to show that Uganda's ranking on human rights is depreciating. Every year, our ranking in terms of human rights go down and go down. People are getting starved so that their land can be taken from them. And who takes their land? People with the support of the ruling regime. Now, these are hard things for us to come here and talk about, but these are facts, as you can see in those photos, that rights of people are being denied, especially people on land with minerals, land with oil. We have oil in Uganda, we have gold in Uganda, we have copper in Uganda, we have all these minerals to talk about. But people are being driven from their land so that government officials, people with the blessings of government, people in government, military, people with guns, come and chase people on their land. They chase them off their land to take over these lands. And then there is no justice done because going to courts in Uganda is very expensive. People are completely poor. Some people are ignorant about their rights. And of course, you cannot fight with a system that is corrupted. As the lawyer should also tell you that the judiciary in Uganda is corrupted. One of the most corrupt institutions in Uganda is the judiciary. So you have the presidential corrupted, the judiciary corrupted, the parliament corrupted. This is Kakwenza, one of the writers known for criticizing the government, who was tortured to near death by simply writing a novel, which is in fact a fictional novel. The guy wrote a fictional novel and was tortured for close to 2 months. Was disappeared, tortured, and that is the opposition leader when he had visited the guy after rescuing him. This guy was actually made to escape Uganda to Germany without a passport. He was helped by other powers to be helped to escape from Uganda to Germany because even his passport had been taken by the legal system in Uganda, which is in the first place corrupted. This guy, Kwenza, is my alumni. We went to the same law school, but of course was several years after I had left that university. He's a lawyer, he's a writer who has been tortured by the brutal regime in Uganda. So when we talk about human rights, these are the issues we talk about. Torturing people, burning them with water, piercing them with needles, and all those marks out of torture. People are taken in the so-called safe houses and they are made unsafe. Safe houses that are completely unsafe, completely unguaranteed, completely unacceptable, completely unknown by law. Of course, there's a lot of domestic violence in Uganda. Men can be violent against their partners. There are all these violence being done in Uganda. These are issues of human rights, sometimes happening in the homes. All these are issues of human rights. That lady there had an accident, and of course, the car that was taking the president knocked her, and then she was never compensated. She lost her arm, but she was never compensated. I fought that case for some time. Of course, there was no justice done. So these are issues of human rights concern in Uganda. As we watch them, I've been telling you that thousands of people are missing in Uganda. Those who make it to courts of law spend countless days waiting to be heard, countless months on remand, which is illegal. And of course, you go to prison on made up claims, made up charges, false charge sheets. They put you there, they say you're a rebel, they say you were committing treason. They put anything. Whoever has power can do anything on you, can put any case on you. These guys have been in prison for years, since 2020. They haven't been heard up to date. They are still in prison. Not one, not two, in hundreds. Now, these are issues of human rights concern in Uganda. We keep on talking about. Of course, journalists like my friend Jose are walking on eggshells, because if you write a wrong article, you may end up dead, or you may end up in prison. So the journalism actually been compromised so much in Uganda that people even fear to write critically about the regime, because if you write critically, you may end up in jail. In Uganda, we see military all over the street. In Uganda, we see military all over the street. Military, army. Why should the army be in the middle of the city? If there is peace in Uganda, why should the military be in the center of a capital city? Why not police, for example? Even when the police is bad, because police is supposed to be within the people. The army must be in the barracks. But why should the army always be in the center of the city? These are issues of human rights concern, because the army, much of the time, shot to kill. They are shooting people and they are killing them, as we are going to see in the next few photos. November 18th, November 19th, 2021, the army and the police killed over 100 people on the streets of Kampala. And of course, I've been talking about Museveni and always getting fraudulently elected. He's one of the leaders in Africa that doesn't win an election genuinely. He must rig elections. People are tired of it genuinely. But he has the army and he has the institutions backing him. As you can see, big armored vehicles always patrolling our villages and our streets. Now, this is the kind of situation where you go to elect a president, but you're under such kind of intimidation. We can see politicians always staging demonstrations which are not even effective. They are on their knees praying to God, and their God actually cannot even help them to upstage any kind of change. And of course, as I've told you, the judiciary is one of the most corrupt institutions in Uganda. You don't expect to get justice in Uganda that you are going to court, especially if you are against a person with power, a person near power. You can see a presidential contender, currently the leader of opposition in Uganda, Senator Muchagulani, had to get an armored vehicle, but also a bulletproof to go and campaign. You can imagine a presidential candidate going to campaign wearing a vest that is bulletproofed. Now, a candidate must be free, but this candidate was not allowed to move freely. At the same time, was being shot at. This was Senator Muchagulani in the 2021 general presidential election, where he was putting on a vest that is bulletproof because he had been shot at several times. He had to get a vehicle that is also bulletproof. Now, this is the kind of situation. How do you expect a youthful person like Chagulani to win in a campaign where he cannot move freely to the people, where he's being shot at, where he's fearing for his life? Now, this is the kind of sham victory we talk about. And Museveni actually generally steals victory. It's not fair. Look at those figures there, those photos there. Massacre where 100+ people were shot dead in November 2021. The days were 18th and 19th November. People were shot right in the streets of Kampala, over 100 people shot dead. I have very bad images which I won't put here of people shot dead just within 2 days. 100 people plus were shot dead in the capital city during a presidential campaign. People were even shot in their shops, inside their shops, as you can see that person there. People were shot inside their shops. I was in my office that day, and bullets were passing by. Bullets were flying, tear gas everywhere. 2021, November 18th and 19th, over 100 people were shot dead in the capital city of Uganda, and no one, as I speak today, has ever been arrested for such wanton killings. Now, these are murders, cold blood murders by the regime, by the army, by the police that is supposed to be keeping people safe. Now, this is why Uganda becomes unsafe, especially for people who want to change, including people who think that actually they support the ruling regime. They are not safe. Abelga was shot dead, including people who think they support the ruling regime, just like Pastor Bujingo has been shot, survived death. Now, no one is safe. People are being shot dead on the streets of Kampala, and the silence are known. Police car number 17 was known for shooting over 100 people dead in November 18th and 19th. And we know people who shoot people dead, but no arrests have been done. These are human rights concerns in Uganda that we shall be talking about in this program. We shall be getting guests here to come and tell you how many people have been arrested. You can see people getting arrested from the streets and then put on military vehicles and taken to unknown destinations. Most of them end up getting killed, getting disappeared. We don't know where they are. At the end of the day, they are simply disappeared. Uganda becomes increasingly unsafe for any human rights defender, for any people, any person who want to get change. If you want to survive in Uganda, keep docile. Don't talk about politics. Don't talk about human rights. Don't make any noise constructively against the regime. There you will survive. The moment you want to have changes, no. The dark days of Tibuhabuba are ongoing. For the last 37 years, Uganda has seen dark days under one regime for the last 37 years. People don't understand this. To be under the regime for 37 years, a regime that steals elections, a regime that disappears people, a regime that is the most corrupt Uganda has ever got, and the regime that is being sponsored by Western governments. Now, these are issues we shall be discussing in this show going forward. I'll be having guests here. I'll be having guests that authoritatively talk about human rights situation in Uganda, and I will continue to expose the bad things going on in Uganda through this Human Rights Watch show right here on HTV Uganda, HTV Africa, and HTV Global. Thank you so much for watching this show. It has been a very brief one, and of course, we will continue having this show over and over again, tackling different institutions one by one, having guests here to come and share with you what's happening in Uganda, looking for solutions, identifying the culprits, identifying the victims, and asking ourselves what is the best way forward. Thank you so much for watching us, and please subscribe to our YouTube channel, Humans TV Africa, but also remember to write to us. Our email is info@humanstvafrica.com, and also our WhatsApp number is +254 7473 56767. But also, you can always reach out to us and give us your own feedback. You want to be hosted here, you want to be part of the show, you want to be a journalist volunteering information, here we are. We shall be welcoming you. Remember, we have studios all over the world. We have studios in the US, we have studios in the UK, we have studios in different countries in Africa, physical studios. Yet we are also a virtual TV network. Thank you so much. Stay tuned. See you in the next one.